Welcome back. This is still the press, and we're reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We've now been joined by our guest, the legal practitioner Uthman Tochukwu. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you join us. Thanks for honoring our invite.
Thank you.
Okay, so Babajide is not in the studio today.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Okay.
All right, well, you're welcome once again. All right, viewers, a reminder that phone lines are now open for you to call in and make your contributions known. So you're welcome once again, Mr. Tochukwu. There are conversations that happened yesterday that we've all been curious about, and thank God you're a legal practitioner, so we get to ask you some of these questions. So the service chiefs actually addressed the Senate yesterday, and part of their conversations is that when it comes to insecurity, the CDS was talking about, he said most of the time when they get to arrest criminals, what happens at the end of the day is that the judiciary gets to let them go on bail. So now there has been lots of questions brewing ever since, like, why is it that the judiciary asks for exorbitant bail charges? What are the basis for those bail charges to start with, and what happens to those funds that are being collected? And are there stringent measures to ensure that the people that are being bailed actually don't even bail out on everyone?
I thank you very much for having me, Olamide. You see, I need to correct something. Okay. First of all, they are not criminals. Yeah, the word criminal should not be associated with people who are still facing trial, because by law, every accused person is presumed innocent until proven otherwise by the court. And I think it's on the basis of that the right to grant bail, sprout out from, right? Once you are being accused of a particular offense, first of all, you have to be charged, and then you face your trial. While at the trial, and this is where the main issue comes in, bail generally, as a general rule, we should understand that bail generally, all offenses is bailable.
Okay.
Yes, every offense is bailable with certain exceptions, and those exceptions are offenses that has to do with capital offenses, and capital offenses are offenses that has death penalty. These are capital offenses, like treason, felony, and all of that. And any other offenses that is not capital offenses, you are entitled to bail. And then again, when you come to bail as a matter of law, bail is discretionary and subject for courts to decide. Courts can decide that it will not grant you bail based on the reason best known to the court, and court can also decide to grant you bail based on the reason known to it. And that money you are calling is called a bail bond, something that you use to stake in case if you run away when you are on bail. That is if you jump bail, right? After you have been granted bail. If they say don't go to market, don't travel outside, don't go to this place, and later on they grant you bail and you do those things, then that bail bond you have staked before the court, you will forfeit it. The court will confiscate it, and it becomes the property of the government because you have disobeyed the orders of courts that guides your bail conditions. Right? But to say that the courts are contributory by granting bail to an accused person is just to say that you don't know the law, because the law does not actually permit you to not give bail when the offense is ordinarily a bailable offense. So you don't expect to keep an accused person that is facing trial not to be entitled to enjoy his bail. The Constitution has presumed him innocent. The fact that you are accusing him to have committed that offense does not mean, in fact, that he did committed the offense. So while he's been facing his trial, it is expected that he should be allowed to enjoy bail. And what is the essence of bail, by the way? The essence of bail in law is to allow the accused person to prepare for his trial and always come to court anytime the court needs him for his trial. So you doesn't have to keep him in the correctional center because he has not been convicted.
Okay, may I come
in?
At
that point.
Okay, may I come in here? Now, looking at the statements made, I believe it came from the fact of insurgency. And we know there are some cases, like you said, are exceptional as to bail, and there are some cases that are just we'll call them like
they are legal offenses. Yes.
So the call was made based on the insurgency, and these are grievous offenses. And it said they are calling for a special court to pursue prosecute insurgents. So you agree with me that insurgents shouldn't be taken like lightly?
Well, among the offenses that are classed by law as capital offenses, I do not think insurgency is one of them. And then again, if insurgency is one of the capital offenses, you need to actually look at the charge sheet to know what they are charged.
Okay.
You understand? It's a different thing that you have committed an offense which is classed as insurgency in the law, but you are being charged for a different thing. You see, we are not talking about two different, and it's very difficult for us to determine what type of offense they were charged if we have not seen on the face of the charge sheet to know the trial they are facing. But whatever the case may be, all we're trying to say that even at those particular offenses that are classed as capital offenses, the court still have the discretion. If they decide, they can still go beyond what is expressly stated within the law to grant bail, depending on the circumstance. For example, we can take Nnamdi Kanu's case, for instance. We can take Ex-Azaki's case, for instance. These are capital offenses established, and that is why they are facing this problem of, enjoying their bail, granting them bail by the court. But the court can look at it and say, Nnamdi Kanu has stayed for over 4 or 5 years, before these people under their custody. So it is just proper for me to exercise my discretion and grant him bail, even though he's facing trial on capital offenses. This is how it works.
Okay, but now the question I beg to ask is the fact that these people are facing some sort of trial, but they are being granted bail. Part of the concern of the Chief of Army Staff was the fact that once you grant them bail, you have also risked the life of many Nigerians that was involved or that were involved in the arrest.
No, I think with all due respect to the Army Chief, I differ. I differ to the extent that bail, like I said, the essence of bail is just to allow the suspect to attend to his trial, right, at his convenience anytime the court wants him. And that's why there is what is called bail conditions. Those bail conditions is intentional, and court would always make it in a way that if you don't jump it, which would also lead to your rearrest. If you don't jump that bail condition, there is no way you can be a threat to society. For example, if you are living in Kaduna and you committed the offense in Kaduna and they are trying you in Kaduna, one of your bail conditions could be that we are granting you bail, but you must have to be coming from Abuja. We are granting you bail, but you have to stay in so apartment in Abuja. That is where we want to be seeing you come to attend to your trial. Or we are granting you bail, we want you to stay in your house in Kaduna, but you will not leave your house to any other place. You cannot leave your house to go to market. You cannot leave your house to go to Lagos. You cannot leave your house to travel outside Kaduna because they don't want you to jump.
But let's be very realistic. Do you see a situation where this is actually being adhered to strictly?
No, being realistic, that's why laws are meant for human beings, right? It's not otherwise. We make laws because you know that definitely we are going to jump the code of conduct. And that's why these machineries are kept there, those institutions are kept there. The essence of bail conditions is because the consequences is that when you jump bail, you will be brought back to the correctional center. The court will remand you and you have to go back to the prison, even though you have not been convicted. So if you ask me whether it's going to, it is in all force adherence, I would doubt that, because you are dealing with.
I know that. I know that some criminals will probably even prefer to drop.
Please,
the money.
let's not use this word criminal.
Okay,
some
suspects. Okay,
yes.
I beg your pardon. Some suspects will prefer to just bring the money and just drop it. And it's not just bill. It's not just the money that they won't have in excess. Probably just drop it, and the money is supposed to seem like a shorty for themselves, and then they get their freedom again.
No, they are not getting their freedom. I think we are mixing.
No, they can't jump the bail. That's what I mean.
No, when you jump the bail, they'll go after you. If you jump the bail, they'll go after you. If for instance they say don't travel outside Nigeria, like Nnamdi Kanu cannot travel outside Nigeria, that's one of his bail conditions those days. What will warrant the person to remain, or what will compel the person to remain. So first of all, confiscate his international passport. There's no way you can leave Nigeria without international passport. So when court give you one of the bail conditions not to leave Nigeria, the first thing you do first is to tender your international passport. So if they find you outside Nigeria when your passport is before the authorities, it means that something must have happened behind the camera, right? Which we do not have access to. But the point is true, they do jump bail. But whether the court attack them after they are jump bail, yes, the court do.
Okay, let's move to other issues that relate still to it. One of the paragraphs in the same story states that apart from some of the challenges which include connivance between Boko Haram elements incarcerated in correctional centers and warders to plan operations and transfer money to their allies, General Musa specifically blamed the judiciary from fearing terrorists, and after security operatives might have done a lot to arrest them, like the issues of the connivance here. What do you think should be put in place, since of course they are in prison at that time, they've been remanded at the correctional center, but they still operate. They still operate. So what do you think should be put in place? Is that they are not doing the right thing out there?
I think now this blame will have to shift away from the judiciary, and then we'll be talking about the correctional center. It is interesting to note that transactions are hardly done manually in our current time. Transactions are usually electronics, and I do not find the reason why somebody who is in correctional center is having access to gadgets to perform a transaction.
I also heard there are VIPs offices and houses in the corrections.
That's why I said sometimes on a very realistic note, some of these things go on.
That's why I say that and actually it's actually a kind of institutional sabotage that some people are not actually doing their job, and it's a height of irresponsibility of some officials of government, to betray their oath of office. And this is where you cannot actually hold the president for being culpable or being responsible for all of this, because the president has designated some of his powers for some of these people to act. If the president is sitting in the villa and giving access to the Comptroller General of Correctional Service to do his job, I think that mandate has been specifically defined for you by law. So you should own up your responsibility and do the right thing. At the end of the day, we also have to remember that we have allegiance to the Constitution, and each time we breach our oath of office, whether the institution comes after us, whether the institution indict us, we should know that we must have to be accountable to somebody.
Okay, but then before, I guess you want to move, but before we move, there's still actually a demand for a special court for terrorists.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally, I agree with that, because actually our court needs to be unbundled. There are so many cases pending before the court that gives seat, that doesn't allow for the free flow of determination of justice, especially when it comes to criminal justice system. Even though the government has adopted the Administration of Criminal Justice Act in 2015 to make sure that there is free access for dispensation of a criminal justice system in our court, but still we still have this bureaucracy. If we are going to make it a kind of national debate for us to have a special court, just like we have code of conduct tribunal that try those in public offices, right? We can have a special court that try terrorism matters, that try matter that has to deal with insurgency. I agree with them, and it's a matter of law.
Absolutely.
Thank God they were saying it before the National Assembly. They are in charge by the virtue of provisions of Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution. The National Assembly, their primary duty apart from their oversight functions is to make laws for the betterment of the country, and I think it's a conversation we can continue to provoke.
Apparently they took their woes to the right doorstep.
Exactly.
Okay, so still on judiciary matters. Now we've seen the court sack Governor of Zamfara State, Governor of Plateau State, and one other state, Kano State.
Yes, Governor.
Now, in this, there are conversations around the fact that the judiciary is trying to take away the choice of the people. I see you smiling. That's what people are saying in the local parlance, that the judiciary is trying to take away the choice of the people, the mandates that the people have given out to their choice candidates to give to another person, thereby saying that the judiciary is supporting a sort of one-party system in Nigeria. What do you make of that?
I think, first of all, let me first disabuse your mind, or the mind of people who have shared in that view, right? And I need to re-enlighten them on the part on how the judiciary works.
Okay.
Like we say in law, parties are bound by their pleadings, right? It is more, making sense to blame the lawyers who have tabled that matter before the court than blaming the judges. If you are blaming the judges for the outcome of your judgment, you are simply showing, a lack of knowledge of law or ignorance of law, which of course does not even amount to an excuse. So what guides the court is the facts and the laws that both parties had presented through their lawyers. Now, if lawyers had presented those facts, the judge is just going to ignore every other noises that is outside what was presented before it. And if you are sitting there as that judge, you will also be bound by the pleadings before you. So whatever decisions that comes out of that pleadings or that proceedings, it's not for the court to be blamed. It's for the lawyers who submitted it to be blamed. Meanwhile, you should go back, your client should go back to whoever they have briefed to handle their matter to blame them, and not the judge. The judge wouldn't have sat on his own and decide a case without looking at something. I don't know whether you get this analysis. And then to also say that the judiciary is trying to is now collecting Nigeria's mandate to give to a particular political party, I think that is not correct, because some other states also have been won in court, and I'm aware that that party is not the ruling party. Enugu State, for instance, is in court. PDP is in Enugu State. Labour Party is dragging it to court, but they've been winning. They even won at the tribunal, won at the Court of Appeal. Now they are going to Supreme Court. The same thing applies to Zamfara. The same thing applies to one other state. In Jos, I think is vice versa.
Okay, I think Olamide's question is basically that of taking what democracy ought to have been, which is
No. I have to interject here. When you say democracy,
people should come out to vote and vote for their leaders.
Yes.
But these days, you find out that when people come out to vote and they feel like the votes it's not actually what they expected or should be the result or the outcome as expected or envisioned, and you hear things like go to court.
Justice Nikki Toby once said that the only clientele of the law is the law. And that's to say that law does not attention to public sentiment and prejudices.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's why when I first answered Olamide's question, I did say that what the law is concerned is that parties are bound by their pleadings. That to the extent that even when you were in fact slapped, for instance, and you want the court to determine whether you are entitled to some damages for slapping you, but you did not include that your slapping on the pleadings for the court to see as evidence that you were slapped, the court cannot look at those sides. Do you now see, if the court holds otherwise that you were not slapped, people who saw when they slapped you before you went to court will say, why did the court hold like this?
So now,
but it's not their fault, because
the question is, why is it so complicated to resolve so many issues that people see glaringly?
No, it's not complicated. It's complicated to those people who have formed a kind of certain opinion and are prejudiced and expect to see some certain outcome. You cannot predict how the court should operate because you are not privy to have access to the pleadings before the court. So only the court knows what was submitted before it, and they are bound by those laws and the fact that are before it.
Before this time, and the judiciary used to be seen as the really last hope of the man.
It's still
but for now, presently, there's this like it's contrary to the beliefs of the people. So do you still think the judiciary should still be or is the last hope of the common man?
I'm a lawyer. I don't think that question is is properly directed at me. Because if you ask me that way, would you expect me to sit here and tell you that the judiciary is not the last hope of common? If you don't trust an institution, why should you go before the institution? If you don't trust that you can get justice from the court, why are you approaching the court? Do you understand? And if we are talking about democracy here, what is even democracy in the real sense? Democracy is not exclusive, right? Democracy is extrinsic, and it includes every other institutions doing their jobs. They have horizontal and vertical. When you talk about democracy in a federal system, you have the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And under the vertical, you have the federalism, federal, state, and the local government, right? Now, if the legislature makes law and the executive implements the law, the judiciary will have to interpret the law. And whenever we are choked, we only have access to the judiciary. You see, the problem is that by the time you are going to court, you have already assured yourself, and this is one thing that legal practice forbid in legal practitioners' privileges, in legal practitioners' practice rule. It forbids that counsel should tell their client the outcome of a case. You can only weigh the pros and cons and advise your client that this is a good case, this is not a good case. But I cannot tell you if we are going to get judgment. It's forbidden for lawyers to tell your client that I'm going to court for you, I'm going to win this case, I'm sure I will win it. It's forbidden. So now, when a client has now formed that opinion and already, prejudiced his mind that this must be the outcome, and the court now goes otherwise based on the fact presented before the court, you will now begin to say that.
All right, let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning. Oh, I think we lost that. Okay, before we leave that case, there's this headline from ex-President Olusegun Obasanjo. He said, overturning Kano's and for our Plateau voters' decision in court unacceptable.
Well, I don't know what he means by unacceptable. We have a court, and the court must do their job. And after all, we're even talking about appeal. The final court has not sat on this matter, and I'm very sure they're still going to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the final court of the land. So it's preemptive for anybody to be making any comment that may be insightful or may appear to be insightful. Okay. Right? They should allow the court to do their job.
Okay. I still have one more question before we move on, Olamide, on the service chief. Now, there's that of the IGP saying that he inherited battered police force, and that of still Obasanjo saying that laying allegation about PDP lost local government polling Ogun because I rejected plots to bribe police. Okay.
1 minute, please. All right, hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. How was your night?
Great, and yours?
Beautiful.
You're welcome to the press.
Thank you. My name is Chief Ariel.
Chief Ariel, you're welcome to the press. Good morning.
Yeah, I've been listening to your guest very well, and I have my point to disagree with him on certain area. Okay. You see, the question of the conflicting report coming from the Court of Appeal is very embarrassing. You see, one time Abraham Lincoln said something one time. Let me quote. I quote: "No man is good enough to govern another man without his consent." But today, what are we seeing? We are seeing it is the courts determine the consent of the people. And you see, when this man came to Nigeria, Patrick Lumumba, he said something. Let me quote. He said, "Coup is not only staged by the military. The judiciary coup is more dangerous when they engage in misinterpretation of the Constitution along with some technicalities." You see, the courts are taking the place of the electorate. Then what they are doing in Nigeria, it is very embarrassing. So when your guest is saying that he may be a lawyer, but when he's saying he's a lawyer, no. When he's saying that maybe he doesn't agree, I also disagree with him. I quickly take him back to the question of Bakachua. During the valedictory speech in the National Assembly, he made a statement that he has made a lot of APC members to be in the house because of his intervention with his wife. I want to take him back to that era. You see, I hope we are not dancing on razor edge. The judgment oozing out you see that even the appeal court, most of their judgment is based on pre-election matters. Most of them is based on the pre-election matters, and they are not consistent in that. In some states, they go along with it. In some states, they don't go along with it. Now, can your guest beat his chest to tell Nigerians, to tell the world that what the appeal court are rolling out is good? No, it is not good.
All right.
I'm not a lawyer, but I have followed events very well. I listen to Femi Falana, I listen to Bishop Kuka, I listen to Obasanjo. They are all on the same pedestal, and they are all the same pedestal with me. Look, Nigeria is a democratic country. One cannot just go and bribe let me use that word. You see, the appeal court has become electoral college after today. They have become electoral college, and it is very disappointing. And I'm telling you that there's going to be a voters' apathy in the next election, because people have totally lost hope in the judiciary. God bless you. God bless your station.
God bless you too, Chief Aro. Thank you so much.
You want to react to that before?
There is nothing much to actually react to, because it's very difficult for somebody to. It's very difficult for me to actually, and unfortunately, I feel his concern. Right? He's not speaking from point of law, and that's the difference between me and him. I'm speaking from point of law, and I'm not going to rely on emotions to analyze issues that concerns with law. I was privy to run into that copy of the CTC that emanated from Court of Appeal. Some segment of that CTC was saying a different thing from the pronouncement of the courts, and that actually has called for concern, and the court would have to definitely issue a statement to explain what really happened, whether it's a typographical error or it's a mix-up, as the case may be. You see, it is very difficult for a lawyer to come and rely on speculations and make statements, right? You form public opinions, and that's why you must make sure it's on the basis of facts that you speak. So it's difficult for me to join issues with somebody who have, formed his own opinion, and he wants me to join him, and I've not verified whatever he has alleged. Bulkachwa made a statement in the floor of the House, and I was aware that he was later indicted to come and defend whatever he has said, and we left it for the authorities to do their job. So do you now expect me to come here and say or exonerate him after authorities have indicted him? It's not proper. What is not proper is not proper. But for me, as a lawyer, I would not sit here to tell you that the judiciary is not the last hope of common man, to tell you that Court of Appeal is not subject, that Court of Appeal decision is not subject to appeal. Court of Appeal is subject to appeal to the Supreme Court. If you don't want to respect the order of court, because the law is that whether the decision of the court is made in the wrong, it must be obeyed until you appeal that order. And if you appeal the order and the Supreme Court upheld the order, you must still have to obey it, except you want to dispense with the court as not going to be part of the organs of government, then we can have a conversation around that.
We truly need constitutional reforms.
Indeed, which has been advocated.
We need every reform, police reform, constitutional reform, every reform. Nigeria needs to be reorganized.
Okay, talking about reorganizing Nigeria, with the statement from the Inspector General of Police, which I earlier asked about him, of course, inheriting a battered police force, and that the statement by Obasanjo. I also have witnessed during the election in a particular state where someone had called the attention of a police officer to the vote buying that was happening there, and the policeman said, oh, go and carry your own and start sharing too. Okay, so it tells you the routes that is going on in of course this places. So what do you think can be done, looking at even the IGP police saying this?
I did not watch that particular clip you're talking about, where they said they should go and
okay, no, she was on.
Yes, I said I was on.
Okay, you saw it live. So that was actually unfortunate. And the conversation we're having here is that this is not the first time we are hearing about IGP coming to tell us that he inherited a battered police. No any IG has come in history of Nigeria and has not complained about the type of, you know, police force that they inherited and all of that. But the truth is that as much as we want to agree that we need a serious police reform, we must also have to admit that to an extent our policemen are really doing pretty good in terms of, even compare them to the international police force, they are doing well. They have a good record there. But generally, because what we have is a systemic corruption, and because of that, every institution is affected. It's like a virus, and we must have to begin to tackle it, you know, from the offshoot, so that we don't go and cut from up and the root is still on the ground and is growing every time. And I think that's the kind of solution we have been providing in fighting our institutional corruption. So if we want to deal with police issue, let us first of all start with this national argument has been ongoing. We have a federal system of government. I believe, and this is my opinion, anybody can disagree with me, we should begin to have conversation on how to have community policing system. That is how it is done all over the world where they operate federal system of government. We have federal police, we have state police, we have local government police. We can even have university police that will be policing universities and other institutions. That is how it is done. And then we have to reject the Nigerian Police Act.
Okay, sorry to cut you.
It's a matter of law.
Talking about community policing, I think our guest even mentioned that some days ago. But there are also concerns that when people talk about community policing, it simply means that in a community, there is somebody who's in charge, who's looking after the local person, talking about bringing security to the local level. Now, at this local level, there are understandings of we know ourselves. So in that way, most persons tend to shield these criminal acts.
I think
there are other speculations of that.
I do not agree with that view, and the reason being that, for instance, let me argue my point from the current policing system that we have. Okay. Somebody from Maiduguri is sent to Enugu as the commissioner of police in Enugu state. Maybe it could be your first time you are coming to that state for the rest of your life, right? Now your posting brought you to Enugu state as commissioner of police. Tell me, on the ground, when something happens in one of the villages, and usually happens in the village, not in the city where Oga is living, how are you going to tackle this kind of issue? Unlike somebody who is from Enugu state, absolutely, who knows every 16 local government in Enugu state, who might also know each and every local government chairman of that state, who understand the language of the people, who can mobilize the chiefs and the igwes to talk to the traditional rulers. See, security is local if you want to tackle insecurity. So, and to that extent, we have argued that community policing is the best for Nigeria, because apart from the fact that community policing is the best for Nigeria, federal system of government has said that our own system of policing does not tally with what the federal system provides. And that is the reason why we have to, if we are doing something every day, similar thing, and you are not getting a result, isn't it a sign for you to, to try to do it differently? I think there should be enough conviction for us to have a different way of running our police system.
Talking about running the police system, I think part of the complaints of the IGP was that in other climes you have 1 police to 400 citizens. But in our climb here we have
one VIP,
one to like
one VIP with 10. Me and you, how many do we have?
Now I'm trying to say that. So he's stating that we have in Nigeria, but he's saying we're short of men, because in Nigeria now they're saying we have like 1 to 1,000. How many times
has the president issued a directive and order that all the policemen attached to VIP should be withdrawn? Yeah. Have you heard recently? Did you not come to work today? Of course. Did you not hear siren? Was it the president that was passing? It was the VIP. So that's the point. I doubt that we are short of policemen. What we are short of is not policemen. The operational way in which we deploy our policemen is what is in trouble here. Imagine we withdrew all the VIPs, all the policemen attached to the VIPs. We would have enough force that we could deploy to other places to do their job. There are some people in the remotest areas in the village, policemen, doing what?
But talking about these policemen too, some of them don't even want to be removed from the VIPs because there's no proper motivation for them at all.
It's part of
so
the
some of them just want
about.
to stick with these VIPs because they are the ones that actually treat them
It's
better.
part of the
I saw that. I think feeding allowance for the service chiefs is like 1,500. So how are they supposed to survive with that?
I didn't see
daily feeding allowance was
1,500.
1,500. So how are they supposed to split that 1,500? Maybe breakfast 500.
You really saw that?
500. Yes, I did. And dinner 500. So how's it
And
supposed
it's
to work?
verifiable?
Yes, it is.
I don't know.
And in a country where, like the Punch states on its headline that states spend 1.7 trillion naira on trips, meals, orders, and then borrow 988 billion naira. It seems the money is there. They keep borrowing, and perhaps we are just consuming and consuming. Some important sector of the country lacks what it needs, like in terms of enumeration, in terms of tools, it needs workforce and the likes. So
you see, there is something. There is actually something that we need to understand. You see, in governance, right? Borrowing is not a bad thing per se. If you look at the global borrowing index, you can Google it.
But borrowing to consume, that's the issue.
I'm just coming there. If you look at the global borrowing index, America is the number one there. They are the number one in terms of borrowing. Country that has the highest level of borrowing in history, America. But the difference between their own system of borrowing and our own is that they borrow from their individuals within the state. Us will source outside, and when they even borrow from such individual, they use it and do what they borrowed it for that purpose. If they borrow for capital project, you are going to see capital project. If they borrow for school, you are going to see funding, education, and other. But when we borrow, we tend to use it to cash out. We don't tend to see what the borrowing is being used for. But I do not think that it is wrong per se to borrow. What we should be tasking government for is for them to deploy the funds they are borrowing to use it to do what they have borrowed it for, so that it can generate more funds for us to have the ability to pay back. But every country owes. No country is free from debt.
What is surprising to me is the fact that today we hear of these funds being siphoned, tomorrow the other one being siphoned. In fact, even COVID-19 funds, they are still investigating them. But at the end of the day, we don't even get to hear the aftermath of some of these cases. But tomorrow we would hear another offense.
We don't investigate. We don't have people who hold government accountable. We are good at relaxing in our homes, carry our handset and type into the internet in frustration. Right, but we don't hold government accountable. I think the earlier we understand the rights and the kind of power we have, when they say government, who are the government? Government are the people, and they have the power, and that's why they say sovereignty lies on the people, because you cannot govern a state where there is no people, and the people that we are going to govern in that state are the people who have given you the mandate to govern them. So with such power, if we can utilize it, we can decide to withdraw government for not doing the right thing. So some of these issues you hear today, they said committee, tomorrow you don't know the outcome of the committee. How many people have written? We even have laws that permit you to write to government and say, I want to find out how this matter went. Can you furnish me? And the court even said, after some days and they don't respond, we can go to court to compel them to respond. We have laws like that. Freedom of Information Act is there. It's not only us lawyers that they are leaving this job for. I don't have to be a lawyer before I can ask.
So maybe Nigerians need to be more and better educated on the laws.
Yes,
this is where National Orientation Agency comes in.
Nobody's answering.
This is where National Orientation Agency comes in. How many times have we written to any of the institutions to find out about how the activities is being run in that particular institution? If they refuse to reply you, how many times have you gone to court to mandate them There's what you call order of mandamus. What the law has provided you to do, and you refuse to do that. A citizen of this country can go to court and mandate you to do it. How many times have we done that? We've not.
Maybe because people have no trust in the judicial system.
No, I don't think it's the issue. I think it's the fact that because you actually need money to
Exactly.
It's also pending in court.
the litigation is expensive.
Okay, so you can imagine where will people even someone has not even eaten. You're talking about having to drag litigation cases. All right, thank you very much, Uthman Tochukwu Issa, for your time today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, viewers, that's where we draw the curtains on today's show. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olamide Alhassan.
Oh, for me, I'll see you again later. I am Victoria Agbi. Have yourself a splendid day.